Okay, peeps, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over the grayscale trusts and a couple other metrics to show you guys that, in my opinion, I think we still are on track for the bull run. So with that being said, let's get it. Okay, so you guys are probably wondering what's pulled up in front of you right now. Well, basically what we're looking at here is the 12-month chart or the 1-year chart, yearly chart, whatever you want to call it for Bitcoin. There's a reason why I pulled this up, okay? So basically, usually what happens with crypto is we operate on these 4-year cycles, all right? So we usually have 3 years of bull market and then a year of a bear market and then 3 years of a bull market, a year of a bear market. I'm going to show you guys this here. For some reason, 2011 was a red year. I don't know that that was necessarily a bear market year, but regardless, we had the halving year and then the final bull run year before getting the bear market. So I'm going to show you guys this on this chart, and I'm going to show you the altcoins as well. The reason why the altcoins are relevant is because, again, a lot of the grayscale trusts are linked to particular altcoins like Filecoin or BAT or whatever, any kind of Filecoin that they have a trust for. So 2014, you can see here the bear market, 2018, the bear market, 2022, the bear market. So there's that. Okay, every 4 years on even numbered years, we have a bear market. So if this pattern is to remain true, then we should not actually see another bear market year until 2026. So once again, I'm going to show you guys. Okay, so we have our first year, recovery year after the bear market. Then we have the halving year, which is usually another green year. That's this long white line right here. This is the year of the halving. 2017 was the third and final year of the bull run, big bull run year before the eventual sell-off into the crypto winter. And then we saw a repeat of that, not exactly, but you guys can see we had the 3 green years here and then the 1 red year that has been consistent for the last 2 cycles. So 2019, we had our pre-halving year, recovery year after the bear market, the halving year, which was 2020. That was also a green year. And then the final year of the bull run, which was 2021. And then in 2022, bear market. So in 2023, 2024, so far, we have had green years both years. So in theory, if this is to remain true, we should have another green year before having a red one. The other thing I want to point out here, too, is in 2016, 2020, and this year in 2024, these are all election years. Okay. All of them are election years. It's interesting how the elections also fall on the same year as the Bitcoin halving. Usually, as you guys can see, I mean, the charts don't lie. Okay. Every time an election is done and a president either gets reelected or a new president gets elected, usually the following year is a green year. So we got the election year here, same as the halving. And then what do we get next year? A green year. Same thing here, 2020 halving year. What happened the following year? A green year. And then this year is also an election year. So what should theoretically happen next year? Another green year. All right. So now let's talk about the altcoins. Okay, I'm going to go over total 3 specifically in this one. We're not going to do total 2 or total 1. Total 3 is basically everything in the altcoin market excluding Ethereum and Bitcoin. So this would basically be anything that's considered to be more high risk than ETH and Bitcoin. Bitcoin and Ethereum can go down 70 to 90% in a bear market, whereas altcoins outside of that spectrum can go down anywhere from 99 to 100%. I think the average is probably somewhere between 90 to 95%, maybe even as high as 98%. So we don't have as much data here, but the point I want to make here, okay, is so 2016 right here would have been the presidential election year. The following year we had what? Another bull market, or basically the last year of the bull market, and then we had the bear market year in 2018. Again, 3 more green years on altcoins. This was the election year and also the halving year. Following year, we had an absolute explosion on altcoins. You can see the market cap went from 147 billion to over $1 trillion. So this thing did like nearly a 10x. Then we had our bear market year. And then 2023, 2024, this is the election year. So theoretically next year should be a green year for the altcoins. That's kind of what I'm thinking, guys. I mean, these are yearly charts, yearly candles. These things, I mean, they're not lying. They literally tell the story right there. So let's get into the charts here. Once again, I'll reiterate, I don't think we're going to see a massive alt season until Bitcoin hits new all-time highs, and I think Bitcoin will do that probably sometime after the election. So I would say somewhere in November, December, we should see Bitcoin and maybe even some alts start to skyrocket to the moon and maybe get a big alt season Q1 next year. So LTCN, I'm looking for roughly about this, I'd say about $11 all the way going out here into the convergence of these areas, roughly about November timeframe. So $11 to I'd say about 12 and a half, somewhere in there as support. And then targets would be roughly about 15, 25 to 27, and 54 respectively. Of course, it could always go much higher than 54. I mean, don't think that 54 is the top. It could definitely go beyond that. So 36%, 149%, and roughly about 398% respectively. BCHG, similar story. So kind of expected to just kind of bob around in between these areas, between resistance and this trend line until eventually, I mean, if I'm showing you guys what I think this would actually kind of look like, it would kind of look like something like this. And then boom, straight up like that. Or maybe not exactly straight up, but mostly straight up. So yeah, something along those lines. So support as of right now, 570. I would say it could potentially go all the way out to $7. Targets here, 10 and a quarter to 1275, and then 18 to 20, and then we have roughly about 24 here. Something else I did want to bring up too is the call debit spread, but we'll talk about that in a separate video. So 112%, 234%, and 298% respectively. Again, the call debit spread would be potentially another big way to make massive gains on some of the crypto exposure stocks like the miners and Coinbase and MicroStrategy and stuff like that. But we'll talk about that in a separate video. So HZEN bullish falling wedge pattern here. Target once again is the top of the wedge. That wick high up there at 10.5. Support right now 250 to about $3. Targets here would be 380 to 420. I'd say about 7 to 810, and then of course that wedge high up there. So we'd be looking at roughly about 209% to as high as nearly 300% on this. ETCG sitting at support very nicely, so roughly about $870 to $10. I'd be looking for targets somewhere between 13 to 1580 on the more conservative end, and then a little bit more generous here, 1760 to about $20. And again, I do think this happens, but of course, in order for Ethereum to really shine, we have to see Bitcoin dominance give way to Ethereum. So we have to see that ETH Bitcoin dominance comparison. We would have to see that chart go up in value. And I'll show you guys that in a separate video when we talk about Bitcoin. So 74%, 118% respectively here on ETCG. ETH, so we tried to get up to this resistance, got rejected immediately, so I suspect we might probably come back and hit this white line. Again, that's 1875. I'd be looking at the top of this range for a target, so 2840, and then the cup and handle pattern at 46. Again, big cup and handle. So measured moves here would be roughly about 50% and 143% respectively. FILG, so unfortunately this one kind of did have a little dumpito on yesterday on Friday, so that sucks. It was above the would-be support, but then it got shot back down below. You guys can see why I always wait to give you confirmation until the weight closes out. So it closed down below. Whether this is an undercut or actually going to be indication of a sell down to the support, that remains to be seen. So at lower support, 450 to about 1150, if this holds up here, and this is only an undercut, not the start of an actual sell-off, then it would be about 37 to 40. And then the all-time high up there at roughly about $400. So measured moves here is going to be roughly about 1,070. I'll just call it 1,070%, and then roughly about 6,500%. And that's assuming you catch a buy at the bottom of those zones. GBAT, you can see this wick action going back. This is a strong buyer zone, so I suspect this will probably hold. I can't promise you it's going to hold, but it seems likely that it's going to hold at this point. So 440 to 510 at support. Targets up here at 760 to roughly about $10, and then $32 all the way up at the highs up there. So 93% and roughly about 507% respectively. Again, in my opinion, if all of these alt related coins or trusts, I should say, that are going to go to the moon are going to go to the moon and really have like serious appreciation like 10, 20, 30, 50x, I don't think we're going to see that until we see the actual alt season take place. And I don't think we're going to see alt season until Q1, Q2 of next year. Again, Bitcoin's got to hit its all-time highs, and then Bitcoin dominance drops like a rock, and we see Ethereum and the alts go up. That's usually how it happens. I mean, it's been the same every single cycle that I've been able to see. So GLIV support here, 12 to roughly about $15, I would say is going to be that support. Resistance all the way up there at 80. It could come back down to the bottom of the support. You guys can see those red candles are slightly getting just a little bit lower each time here, so it's possible 567% move, or 576, I should say. So G-Link, once again, we have some wick buyers down here at the zone. It's looking likely this is going to hold, no promises, but if you guys are really truly worried about it, next area I'd be looking at would be down here at 630 to 9.25. I would say, save some kind of crazy flash crash. I don't see that price as being likely. So you got your support at 48 or 38 to 45, resistance at roughly about that 65 to 85 area, and then the all-time highs up there at 220. So profit targets here roughly about 97% to 417%. GSOL, this thing's mostly just going sideways. You guys can't really see it, but it is pretty much more or less kind of in a channel. It's not really that easy to see unless you actually are looking for something like this. But yeah, you guys can see now that it's more or less just consolidating. It's not going up, not going down. If it does go down, it's probably just going to bleed along this trend line, kind of how it has been. So that could be anywhere from 377 going into the end of the year, roughly about maybe 250 or so. All-time highs up here at 585. So just from the current price to the all-time high, roughly about 53%. And then let's say it stops somewhere around the convergence of these areas here at about $300. It would then become 96% on GSOL. GXLM, this thing has unfortunately closed down below this white line. So I'd be looking then at 1450 as a potential buying zone. Of course, you could scale in as the price comes down to these zones. You don't necessarily have to buy all in at one zone. Again, it's your guys' money. You can do what you want, but I'm just telling you how I would kind of hedge against the risk of a massive drop or a continuing bleeding to the downside. Like let's say I had $2,000, okay? I put 500 in here, 500 in here, 500 in here, and then 500 if it gets down here, and then I would just hold. That's just me. That's how I would do it. So 1450 down here at support. This could also be an undercut and it could go back up immediately. That's possible. You guys can see the price never came down below here before. So this could actually be a what's known as a bear trap. So bears try to pile in here, and then the market maker or whoever's on the other side of that trade, controlling the flow of the contracts that are being traded here, and they could just immediately reverse the price, basically liquidating the bears, because bears might have like a stop up here or something like that. So they go bang, zoop, straight back up, and then stop all these bears out, and then off to the moon it goes. That's just some trading technicals and terminology for y'all, but if it's an undercut, this may come back up. So it may be back above 20. We'll just have to wait and see. So resistance at 52.50 to 58, roughly about 58.50 there. And then the swing high up there at $70. So from assuming this is an undercut and it doesn't go any further down, 183% to roughly about 235%. If it is not an undercut and it does go lower, then we'd be looking at roughly about 303% and 375% respectively. Okay, so Mana, this one also could be an undercut as well. We don't know yet, but the red candle is below this line here. So lower level here, $1.50 to $3.50. I'm not sure that it goes that low. I'm just going to be honest about it because, again, I don't think the bull run's over yet. $11 at the support. Targets here would be $17.50 and $20.50 at that resistance zone, and then $70 all the way up there at the highs. So assuming this is an undercut and it does come back up, roughly about 79% to 530% respectively. And from this lower level of support here, it would be about 607% to 2,338%. Zcash, same story. It might be having a little tiny dip down here, but if I draw, like I'll show you guys. So if I draw this white line right here, you guys can see that the candle closed here above the white line, right? But then it came down here below the white line. It closed below the white line on the red candle right here. Okay. So if I was a bear, I would have been looking at this thing and thinking, yeah, this is the perfect time to short because it's closing down. It's probably just going to open lower and keep going lower. But guess what happened? A green candle happened immediately afterwards. It would have, if my stop was up here, let's say above the zone, well, the following candle the following week would have stopped me out, essentially indicating a bear trap. Again, I would not short this, but some people probably would, just to kind of show you guys how that would play out. So current support 440 to 510, assuming that particular thing going on right there with that candle is an undercut. If not, 315 would be the next buy level, and then you have 8 to roughly about 970 as targets, and 10 and a quarter all the way up there at the highs. So profit target here would be 116% to 132%. From this lower level here, you'd be looking at roughly about 209% to 234%. Anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.